Hello. My name is Emily Livingston. I am 83 years old. And even though my body has aged, inside, I still feel like the same person I was when I was young. I still feel curious. I still feel hopeful. I still feel alive. And today I want to share something very personal with you. It took me over 40 years to understand what true happiness really is. And I spent most of my life looking in the wrong places. When you're young, you don't really know who you are. You're shaped by your family, by your childhood, by the words spoken over you, by experiences you didn't choose. And without realizing it, you begin to wear masks. You build walls. You learn how to survive. I didn't understand that back then. I just moved through life doing what I thought I was supposed to do. And like many people, I began looking outside myself for happiness. I thought happiness would come from marriage. And I was married. I thought it would come from being loved by another person. But here is something I learned slowly. No matter how good your partner is, they are still human. They have faults. They have weaknesses. They cannot complete you. True happiness is not found in another person. Then I thought happiness would come from having children. And I became a mother. And yes, children bring joy. They bring meaning. They bring love. But even fulfilling that dream did not automatically make me happy. Then I thought it might come from success, from having a nice home, from having nice things. And I had those too. I had successful businesses. I lived in big houses. I drove nice cars. I had my health. And yet, there were still times I felt empty. So I kept searching. I always had a relationship with God from a young age, especially in my 20s, when I reconnected with Him. Looking back now, I believe that was the beginning of my healing. But it wasn't until many years later, in my 40s, that something really changed. That's when I began to wake up. I began to realize that I didn't really know myself, that I had spent years putting myself last, compromising my own happiness, living for other people, trying to keep everyone else comfortable, trying not to upset anyone. And when you live like that long enough, you lose yourself. I woke up to the fact that I was responsible for my own life, responsible for my own happiness, responsible for my own peace. And when you wake up to that truth, you have a choice to make. You can stay where you are, or you can change. When I began to change, I upset a lot of people. They were used to me being the strong one, used to me always being there, used to me carrying everything. And suddenly I wasn't doing that anymore. I began to speak up. I began to set boundaries. I began to step away from negativity. I stopped surrounding myself with people who were constantly complaining, with people who drained my energy, with people who had nothing good to say about others. And that made people uncomfortable. Very uncomfortable, because when you change, others feel it. I had some very hard years in my 40s, not because I regretted changing, but because I was wrestling with other people's reactions. They were upset because I wasn't playing the same role anymore. I wasn't living for them. I was learning to live for myself. And that journey can feel lonely, even when you have family around you. Self-development is often a quiet road. You walk it alone, with God, and with your own thoughts. But today, at 83, I have no regrets about those hard years. None. Because they brought me to authenticity. They helped me peel back the layers. They helped me find who I truly was. And I am grateful I woke up. So grateful. Because so many people never do. They stay busy. They stay distracted. They lose themselves in work, in children, in responsibilities. And years go by. So what is true happiness? I'll tell you what it is for me. True happiness is being true to yourself. And it begins with a choice. Every morning when your eyes open, you have a choice. You can choose to complain. You can choose to be angry. You can choose to feel sorry for yourself. Or you can choose peace. You can choose gratitude. You can choose joy. That doesn't mean your day will be perfect. You may still face difficulties, but you decide how you meet them. I learned that happiness isn't something that happens to you. It's something you practice. I am 83 now, and I have peace. Real peace. Not because life was easy, but because I did the inner work. Because I faced myself. Because I stopped living for others. Because I chose authenticity. Because I learned to let go. Because I learned to love. If I could leave you with anything, it would be this. Work on yourself. Take risks. Chase your dreams. Speak the words that matter. Set boundaries. Be authentic. Love deeply. Protect your peace. And do not waste time. Because one day, you will look back. And you will realize how fast it all went. Once I realized that in my 40s I began to change my habits. I learned that habits can be broken. Mindsets can be changed. Patterns can be rewritten. It takes effort. It takes awareness. But it is possible. And slowly, my world began to look different. Not because my circumstances changed, but because I did. I began to be thankful. I began to be grateful. I began to protect my peace. I stopped being a people pleaser. I started honoring what mattered to me. I learned to say no. I learned to rest. I learned to listen to myself. And I kept God close. Not in a religious way, in a personal way. Through prayer, through quiet moments, through silence. Every day, I spend time connecting. I calm my mind. I align myself. And from that place, I am filled with peace, with wisdom, with contentment. And when you are filled, you can give to others. But when you are empty, you have nothing to offer. I have friends who have everything. Money, comfort, security. And yet they spend their days complaining. Nothing is ever enough. They criticize others. They feel sorry for themselves. And I think to myself, what is the point of having everything if you are never content? Material things do not create happiness. Health matters. Money helps. But neither guarantees peace. True happiness lives inside you. It always has. It's not in another person. It's not in a job. It's not in a relationship. It's not in success. It's found in authenticity, in gratitude, in self-awareness, in choosing peace, in aligning your life with what feels true. No matter what age you are, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, you can begin again. You can change your life. You can choose happiness. It is available to everyone. And at 83, I find happiness now in the simple things. I find it in my garden, in watching things grow, in the quiet moments of the morning. I find it in my children, in my grandchildren, in their laughter, in their stories, in knowing that somehow, in my own small way, I was part of their journey. As you get older, you begin to value more what you have less of. And that is time. You stop rushing. You stop chasing. You start noticing. You value every day. You become more present. I value purpose now. Making these videos gives me a new sense of purpose. We all need something to get up for. A project. A reason. Something that makes us feel alive. I love to paint. And I cherish the time I have now to paint. I didn't have that freedom before. Life was busy. There were responsibilities. There were obligations. Now I have space. And I'm grateful for it. I've learned that happiness doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes it's just sitting quietly, being thankful, and appreciating the season you're in. So wherever you are in life, whatever age you are, remember this: your time matters, your joy matters, and it's never too late to find meaning in the days you still have. This is my truth. Take from it what helps you, and leave the rest. Thank you for listening.